what I came on here to talk about was just confidence coaching. So, anything you want to talk about? Confidence, love, life, leadership. If there's any content ideas, I'm looking for some content ideas. Cherry said, I'm confident, but I have low standards in my relationship. IDK, what to do? Oh, Cherry, I love this question. Um, well, I think that goes back to what you think you're worthy and deserving of. And I would ask myself the question, you know, why am I, and these are my words, not yours, but I'm trying to paraphrase what you're saying. You know, do I feel like I'm settling when it comes to these low standards, and why am I settling? And that could that be because I want to be chosen, or because I don't want to be alone, or because I um don't think that I'm good enough. And these aren't like conscious thoughts, right? Because nobody's walking around saying I'm not good enough. Most of the time you're walking around saying, well, he's just, he checks most of the boxes. And, there are some things that I'm willing to concede on. And that's fine because every relationship has, compromise. But it's what are your core values, and what are you like? Are you compromising on those big ones, or is it small ones? So I would ask yourself that question first. And then once you do that, understand what your core values are. And those usually are your non negotiables. Like one of my core values are connection. And so if I have a partner that's constantly on their phone, and when I say constantly, I understand it's 2025, like people are on their phones. But if I say, hey, like, let's have a serious, chat about X, Y, and Z, if they're not giving me their full attention and they're on their phone and we designated a specific time to have a conversation, to sit down and talk through, then that doesn't work for me because one of my core values is connection. And I know that long term, if that continued to happen, right, over and over and over again, then it wouldn't work because I don't feel like I'm being heard and I don't feel connected to my partner. So understanding what your core values are is where I would start. Kurt said water, black coffee, tea. Oh, yeah, that's good. On my fast, I've never done anything other than water. I haven't done tea and I don't drink coffee, but a lot of people do that, so that's good. You should visit if you've ever been. It's expensive, but some of the best food you'll ever have is here. Okay, and that's in Ohio. Um, how many countries have I been to? 48. Have you ever thought about competing? No, it's just something I do for me. It's not really a sport for me. It's just more so I enjoy lifting and I'm competing against myself yesterday. I feel you want to look good and look good, etc. Yeah, feel good, look good. Yes, exactly. You don't look anything close to your age. Something in the water where you're at. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, Edward, for the follow. In your relationships, do you believe in going through your partner's phone or no privacy? I personally don't feel like I need to go through my partner's phone ever, because I trust until I can't trust. And even if I don't trust you, I'm still not going through your phone. We're going to have a conversation about it, and the truth will always come out. But I don't feel like I need to go through anybody's phone. And I think that when people do that, that does kind of build distrust in the relationship because you're telling your partner that I don't trust you. And that can be a whole different issue that you're inadvertently creating by going through their phone. And also, you have to ask yourself, why do I feel the need to go through your phone? Am I insecure? Or do I feel like there's something going on? And that's legitimate too, right? If you really do feel like there's something going on. So it's getting real with yourself and being radically honest and saying, like, here's what I always say. I always say our life is the story that we tell ourselves. And that story varies, right? That story is, I'm amazing and I'm awesome. Or it could be, I'm never going to get this job. Or it could be, my partner is cheating on me. Like, what's the story you're telling yourself? And you get radically honest with yourself and you say, do I have evidence of this? Or am I projecting a past experience onto my present relationship? Or am I casting an insecurity onto my present relationship? What actual proof do I have? Because more often than not, we're making up stories based off of alone and not necessarily what's going on, right? If someone is busy, for example, and you send them a text and your partner doesn't respond, your brain can immediately go to, oh my God, are they with someone else? What proof of that do you have? They could literally be in a meeting. They could be busy. They could be in the hospital because they like got sick, right? There's so many other things that could be at play, but you choose to focus on the one thing that's negative and that's detrimental to you. And that's typically like what the insecurity is there, because if you're like, oh, are they with someone else? Then that might be a fear of abandonment wound. That might be a I'm not chosen wound, or that might be a I'm not a priority wound. So get really radically honest with yourself and say, why am I jumping to that conclusion? And if it's true, right, because you know that last Saturday they were out with a bunch of girls, fine, right? Then that's based off of actual evidence, actual proof. But a lot of the times we don't even have the proof, and we're just making up a story based off of this worst case scenario. And that worst case scenario is typically reflecting an insecurity that we have. So that's my answer to that. Cherry said, thank you. Thank you so much for the follow. Yeti, what's up? How are you? Can I ask how old you are? I'm 38. What's in the dark always comes to light. Absolutely, T. I agree. Daryl said, I had exes when talking about it. They turned it back onto me, trying to pass blame. Yeah, I mean, that's gaslighting. So that's like a red flag. And that's when I say noted for the future. Here's the thing is like every situation is always going to be different. And every day we all make mistakes. God knows I do, right? Nobody is perfect. And you have to look out for patterns, because patterns are what tells you what's actually going on. A one isolated event isn't going to give you the answers, because somebody might say something stupid, right? I've said stupid things. It's not that, I meant it, right? You can't hold that against a person because nobody's perfect. But when someone consistently has a behavior that you're not okay with, or when someone consistently does something over and over and over again, like passing the blame, then that's a red flag. And you have to believe the patterns and not just the isolated action or just their words. So what they show you over and over and over again is truly who a person is. Thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate it. Thank you. Exactly. Didn't grow up with a mother or woman, family member, so it's hard for me to understand women. Yeah, I mean, it's hard for people to understand people. I always say relationships aren't complicated, people are, right? And that's because you can understand a woman, but that doesn't mean that the next one's going to act and behave in the same way, because we're all different. And that goes for men too. I can't cast my past relationship issues onto a future or current partner, because my future or current partner is their own person. And if I start to take my past and project it onto them, then they're going to have no choice but to reflect that back to me. So what I'm saying is, if I have an insecurity of I'm not prioritized or I'm not chosen, I'm going to scan. Like my brain is literally going to look for instances where my partner is not prioritizing me, where they're choosing their friends over me, where they're choosing work over me, because that's my past experience. And that's the way our brain works. Everybody does it. It's just about being honest. And like I said, going back to, is this really what's happening? Is this the pattern? Is this the trend? And am I building up a narrative or a story based off of my past? And it's hard. And that's the work, right? That's the work of self-development, of healing, is just the radical honesty of what's actually going on here. And I always refer to that as isness, right? That which is isness. What is happening? What is going on? Because humans are like the only mammal that can like think consciously, right? A gazelle in the woods is, being chased in the African savannah by a lion. And, as soon as it's in the clear and it's escaped the lion, it goes back to grazing. It's not sitting there saying, wow, like 5 minutes ago, like I almost got, eaten up. I got to go tell, my other friend over there about what happened because, that was scary and blah, blah. They're not inventing these like stories. They're not replaying it. It just is like, I was in survival. I ran, I survived it. And now I'm back to grazing in the field. Whereas we have imagination and we like to fill in a lot of details with our imagination. And sometimes that can get us into a little bit of trouble. And so it's just about becoming aware of those thoughts and those feelings. I suffer from depression and I isolate from the world. Kita, thank you, for sharing that. And it's hard. I get it. But it's about, literally opening up your mind. It sounds like you already have the awareness of that's a pattern. And it's just becoming aware of like, what made this a comfort mechanism for me? Like, what about this specifically feels good to me? And uncovering those things and how you got to using that as a go-to, and then deciding something different. And I know that sounds cavalier, and I'm not trying to trivialize depression and isolation because those are two very big things, and human emotions are big. But it's just about acknowledging it, what you've already done, and then, seeking help. And it's okay to ask for help. I feel like a lot of us are so scared to ask for help. And it's like, we're all just trying to do our best. None of us have all the answers. It's hard for you to read in between the lines when communicating with them. On women, I think I'm being mean, but then just passive or just take things at face value and leave it at that. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, again, conscious awareness of the story that you're telling yourself, because two people can go into a conversation, right? Me and you could go into a meeting and we're meeting with, I don't know, a guy named Tom, and we could walk out saying, I could say, that was like an amazing meeting. And you could say, oh my God, like that was so awkward. It was the worst. Nothing has meaning in this world, if you think about it, until we assign it the meaning. Everything is neutral. We get to decide if an interaction was good or bad. We get to decide if something was awkward. We get to decide if someone was being mean. We get to decide everything, because nothing has meaning until we assign it meaning. So when it comes up of like, oh, was that mean? Say, no, what was my intention, right? When you're rooted in your intention and you know your intention, my intention was to convey this feeling, or my intention was to be positive, or my intention was to help someone, or my intention was to be informative. As long as you're good on your intention, that's all that matters. And how they perceived it, that's their business, right? That doesn't mean you have to assign it meaning of that was awkward or I was being mean. It's like, my intention was to just share information, and I did it in the best way that I could. And so going back to your intention can help with that. I don't know who's worth fighting for. I always say, Kita, I'm not sure context wise, but you are your responsibility. And as long as you are good with you, that's where you have to start, is planting the seeds within yourself, knowing that you are worthy, you are deserving, you are enough as you are, and that you are loved. And I was saying earlier, and sorry if this is a repeat for anybody, but essentially, like, we are constantly lying to ourselves. When we say that we're not enough and that we're not worthy, those are all lies. And like I said, nobody talks like that. It's more so in the small moments of, are they going to like this? Are they going to hate it? Are they going to think I'm stupid? That's more so the thought that you're having, right? But that's a lie, because we were all born worthy and deserving. You didn't come out of the womb saying, I'm not worthy, I'm not deserving, I'm not enough, right? You were perfect as you were. It wasn't until the world told you who you should be that you started to shrink, because society said you need to look this way. you need to act this way, you need to talk this way. So then you started to kind of shapeshift and say, oh, I better not say this, I better not do that. And so you started to kind of like pick yourself apart. You are whole as you are. And so whenever you have those negative thoughts, they're essentially lies, because it's like, you know what? I was born whole. I was born enough. And so tell yourself a better lie. And so when I say tell yourself a better lie, it's I am loved, I am happy, I am healthy, I am healed. And those things are actually true, but they're going to feel like a lie, because when you're so used to putting yourself down, or when you're so used to, thinking negatively or worst case scenario, saying those things is going to feel like a lie, like, period. There's no, I don't want to sugarcoat it, to like go from saying like, oh, listen, I knew this bad thing was going to happen, to, you know what, things are going to work out. When you start saying it, you're like, oh God, like, but what if they don't? And it's this constant fight back and forth. But the more you do it and catch yourself in the moment, the more you start to retrain your brain by telling yourself the better lie. And before you know it, the more and more you say that lie, it's going to become true, because it's going to be who you identify as. And so it's just reprogramming your brain. So instead of telling yourself the shitty lie that doesn't feel good, and that you're not chosen, and that you're not worthy, and that you're not enough, just say the opposite. It'll feel foreign at first, but the more you do it, it'll be like cakewalk. What if you're in talking stage and they still are talking to other guys but want to be serious? That's just a conversation you have to have. I have been doing this thing the last few relationships or dating experiences that I had. Honestly, on the first or second date, I just said, I'm really intentional with my time and my dating, and I want to make sure that when I invest time in someone, that we're on the same page. And I'm looking for, I would actually say, I am looking for a serious relationship that leads to marriage, or whatever it is that you specifically are looking for. Say that, and then just say, what do you want out of this? And if that person can't handle that type of conversation, then you might need to evaluate your interest in them, because I want someone that's emotionally intelligent. If they think that's too much or it's too early to have that conversation, I'm not saying to commit to me. I'm just saying let me know your intention, right? I'm letting you know my intention. What's your intention? And if they can't handle that type of conversation, then they might not be, who you want to end up dating, because it sounds like they might not be emotionally intelligent or emotionally unavailable. So I would set the intention up front. Thank you so much, Peyton. I appreciate that. I feel like mammals live in the present, but they don't get into existential crisis like us. 100%. I totally agree. Light exercise is great for fasting and clearing your mind. Stay hydrated. Listen to your body. Yes, that's what I had to do last time, because I did start to feel lightheaded. We internalize, and it's annoying when I do it. LOL, I try not to take people's actions personal. Yeah, but you know what? You're only human, Cash. Like, so it's natural to, it's just becoming aware of the thought. It's not like we can just force ourselves to like not have the thoughts come up. It's impossible. The mind is an anticipation machine. It never stops. You can't just silence it. It's about when the thought comes up, just say, so what? Like, this person, might have thought that I was mean when I said that. So what? So what? What does that mean? Like, I know that I wasn't being mean. So what? And if they did take it as mean, I trust that they'll come to me and I will address it, and I will state my intentions to them, and I will resolve it. And then you just leave it at that. And the thought keeps coming up, and you just keep saying, okay, I see you thought, I hear you, but it's not really relevant right now because I know my intention, so I'm good. And you just keep doing that over and over again. And at first you're going to feel like you're going insane, but it truly is like building a muscle. It's practice. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. And also you're going to find that the thoughts come up way less. Like when you really commit to rewiring your brain in that way, the thoughts just like really do start to slow down, those intrusive ones. Yeah, I've been in therapy to get my communication better, and it's helped me be more intentional. Totally. Therapy is amazing. Exactly. We get to decide to be offended or to let what was done or said to us roll off the shoulder. Yeah, exactly. You get to decide how important it is to you, because at the end of the day, it's like someone else's opinion of me does not define my worth, because I'm not for everybody. Not everybody's going to like me. And I had to really accept that. Like, I learned to accept that a few years ago, because I would get upset sometimes if people were upset with me. And it's like, I can't please everybody. I'm not Play-Doh. I can't just shapeshift and form into everything for everyone. At a certain point, you have to stand in your authenticity and stand on business and say, this is who I am. And if you don't like it, then okay, like, that's okay. It's okay. Are you confident? Yes. But I would say confidence is, it's not static, right? There's going to be days where you wake up and you're like bloated, or you're feeling unsure of yourself, or you're confused, or you're indecisive. And so confidence is not just, I am confident all the time, 100% of the time. I think people kind of think that when people are labeled as quote unquote confident, that they don't have insecurities. Everybody's got an insecurity. It could be your voice, it could be your bank account, it could be your body, it could be, your career, your home life, whatever it is. Everybody's got an insecurity. And if somebody tells you that they don't have an insecurity, they're lying. Everybody has one. It's about trusting yourself. I would say confidence is radical self-trust, in the sense that when something comes up, you know that you can handle it, right? So like, confidence is, right now in this moment, I'm afraid. I'm afraid to go speak in public. I'm afraid to go do this new thing. But I trust and know that I will be able to handle anything that comes up. So to me, that's what confidence is. It's not that you're always going to feel good or feel like you know what you're doing. It's self-trust and knowing that you've got it. And if it doesn't go your way, you'll be able to bounce back. You'll be able to survive it. You'll be able to learn from it. And you'll be able to move on. And you just trust that you're making the best choice in the moment with the information that you have at that time. And that's it. And I do believe confidence is really accessible to everyone. Tori, practice celibacy. It helps you fast from a bunch of things in the world and bad people and habits. Yeah, it's a tool for sure. Let's see. Thank you so much for the follow. Yeah. So that's pretty much my spiel. Thank you guys so much for the likes too. And thank you guys so much for staying on here and for spending your, morning with me. For some people it's evening. I appreciate it, because you could be spending your time doing something else and instead you're here with me. So that is not lost upon me. I do appreciate it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to bed, because where I am in the world, it is late. So thank you so much. And I will see you all tomorrow. I'm going to try and go live around the same time. So I went live about an hour ago. So I don't know what time zone you're in, but it would be East Coast time, like 6 a.m. I'll try and go live. So I will see you all tomorrow. Take care. Bye.